Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. Ever since we signed Kyle Rudolph and Kenny Golladay, we've been talking about how great of red zone targets they are. And more specifically, Kyle Rudolph. He's someone that we've seen, jumping over people, catching passes in the back of the end zone with one hand. He's done that, I know, 2 or 3 times in his career. So he's someone who's really looked towards as someone that's going to solve some of our red zone woes. I think he's going to solve a lot of our red zone problems by being able to block down there in the red zone. He's not the best blocking tight end in the league, but he's gotten a lot better, and he probably will be among, at least the first or second best on our team starting week 1. So I'm excited about that in the red zone, and excited about that just anywhere, because we can line up and play him as a traditional tight end, something that we necessarily really haven't been able to do recently because of the personnel we've had. They haven't been able to really do both at a decent level. So he's going to help us there 100%. But Kyle Rudolph is someone that I've been excited about because I did think that he'll help us in the red zone, but I wanted to look deeper into it. And when I look at his stats over his career, I was thinking, some tight ends like Gronk, Jimmy Graham in the past, but, Kyle Rudolph has never been as good as those guys. But some tight ends have been known to get 13, 15 touchdowns because they're big bodies and they can just go up and get the ball. But Kyle Rudolph has never really been that guy. So when I look at his touchdowns over his career, he's got 3, 9, 7, 8. He never has gotten double-digit touchdowns. Now, one thing I'll say about that is he's played with Teddy Bridgewater. He's played with not the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's gotten Kirk Cousins lately, but by the time Kirk Cousins really got there and started firing on all cylinders, they became a run-first kind of team. Kyle Rudolph said it himself. The Vikings have said it. He's transitioned to more of a block-first kind of tight end. So he hasn't been looked at as like some amazing target anymore. And early on in his career, he was really a target, and he was always a force. Every single week you had to account for him. But he kind of has gotten waned out of the offense because they've got Dalvin Cook and because they want to establish the run. And they think that him as a tight end, his value is better used as a blocker. They've had Stephon Diggs, they've had Adam Thielen, they had Justin Jefferson just last year. So he hasn't gotten as much opportunities. But will he be a red zone threat for the Giants? He has never gotten double-digit touchdowns, so I thought maybe he may be a little bit overhyped as a red zone target. So I dove into the stats, into the red zone stats. I could only go back as far as 2016. That's when the site that I found started calculating this stuff. So I could only go back to 2016. Of course, I could probably go a little bit further back if I looked at the tape myself, but I really don't have the time for that. And I think that the years that I have kind of tell the story. So let's first look at 2020, his past year. He got 2 completions in the red zone, 5 targets. That's about 40%. 1 touchdown in the red zone, and he was targeted 7% of the time in the red zone. So 7% of the time, when you hear me say targeted percentage in the red zone, 7% of the time that the Vikings were in the red zone, Kyle Rudolph was targeted. Pretty simple. Cool. So that was for 2020. He got 1 total touchdown that season as a receiver and 1 touchdown in the red zone. So his red zone touchdown was his only touchdown for the 2020 season. Again, he was used primarily as a blocker. 2019, this is where you start to see, more consistency and more targets. 2019 is 8 completions in the red zone, 12 targets. So that's about a 67% completion percentage for him in the red zone, which it all should be high because they're all short passes. But 5 touchdowns in the red zone in 2019. So 5 touchdowns in the red zone, 6 touchdowns total for that entire year. So pretty much most of his touchdowns were in the red zone last year. So that's 5 red zone touchdowns And I think that's pretty good already. Seeing, if you're going to use this guy as a red zone threat, if he can get you 5 down there, I think that's a pretty good job. He was targeted 29% of the time that the Vikings were in the red zone. So he was clearly part of the game plan in 2019. So moving on to 2018, targeted 8 times for 15. He was targeted 15 times for 8 catches on a 53% completion percentage when they targeted him down there. 3 touchdowns, 4 total touchdowns. And as you're seeing this, you're seeing that most of his touchdowns in general are coming from the red zone. He's not really a big play guy that's scoring touchdowns from 30, 40, 50 yards out. So that's something that we're seeing, and that's kind of reinforcing what we think of Kyle Rudolph. So again, 53% completion percentage down there, 3 touchdowns, and 4 total in the season. So he only had 1 touchdown outside of the red zone. He was targeted again 7% of the time down there in 2018. And again, he was used mostly as a blocker. 2019, I guess, there were some injuries, and maybe he got his number called a little bit more. But 2018, they were pretty much doing what they wanted to for him as a blocker. 2017, this is by far, this might be an all-time great red zone season, but this is just a great stat line to have down there. And if this could happen for us in 2020, or 2021, I'd be celebrating. Check this out. He was targeted 16 times in 2017, 2017, and he caught 14 of the 16 passes. So that's good for 88%. 7 touchdowns, and of course, 8 touchdowns total, but 7 touchdowns came in the red zone. Targeted 24% of the time that they were in the red zone. So he was targeted less than he was in 2019, but it was able to get 2 more touchdowns and was able to catch 88% of the passes in the red zone. So that was a great year for him stats-wise in 2017. And if he can give us 80% of that, we're in good shape. So looking at 2016, which was the furthest this could go back, 16 catches on 30 targets, so not as good as 2017, but 53%, 7 touchdowns again, and 100% of the catches that he had, of the touchdowns that he had, were in the red zone. So he was targeted 36% of the time in the red zone. So he was clearly their only option in the red zone pretty much in 2016. So what do these numbers tell us? They pretty much tell us that he is a red zone target. I look back at the stats and I was kind of concerned because I saw that he had never gone double digits. But seeing that so many of his touchdowns, pretty much every season that he's played, most of his touchdowns have come inside of the 20. It shows that he still is someone that has to be accounted for in the red zone. You're in the red zone, a small percent of the time. Red zone plays do not take up most of the game. There are a lot of big plays that teams score from. So if you think about it, teams are in the red zone, 3-4 times a game on offense, if that. And if you can get a guy that's going to catch over 60% of his passes in the red zone, and he's a guy that primarily scores his touchdowns in the red zone, I think we got a guy. So this was interesting to do a dive into, and I think that he will help us day one as a red zone target, looking at these stats. And I think, as well as I said, I think he's going to help us a lot as a blocker. So let me know if you want me to do a video like this for Kenny Golladay. I definitely learned a lot from doing this for Kyle Rudolph, and I think that, we were right. He is going to be a good red zone target for us. So let me know what you think it is. And again, let me know if you want me to do one on Golladay. And let me know what you're thinking of Kyle Rudolph this year. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.